It's gotta end sometime.
The overpowering sound of Niko's handpan
And
fills
the
the
shoelace shoebox guitar that I play.
and my drop D tuning with my old strings.
My old strings.
My old
My
strings.
old strings, boys. I got the old
Jake,
strings.
that's the name of your first album. My old
What?
strings.
I learned how to make
my-
funny noises on this thing.
Let me tell you a tale about the old strings. The
You
way
wanna
they
hear a funny
were.
noise?
Nico's got a funny noise for us.
wanna hear a funny
Everyone
noise?
stop what you're doing and listen
Yeah,
to this.
let's hear a funny noise. That is hilarious.
Oh my god, I haven't laughed like this in years.
Guys, what are we doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
The heck are you doing?
We're launching a website. That's what we're doing. We already launched a website. We're
I was
launching
about to say ... again.
I mean, we're constantly launching the website. That's
Yeah.
the thing about it. But
Yeah, imagine
Scott
like a rocket
came
coming in.
on.
It's just like
Scott came
yeah,
on
it's gonna
today for a special because by the time this podcast comes out on Thursday, Wednesday is our phase 2 drop tomorrow.
Yeah. Also, Scott, we brought you here so you can give us all your hot takes on British politics.
Yeah,
So be prepared.
we're gonna solve Brexit in this
Oh, no.
podcast. Yeah,
Tell us everything that's
quite a
wrong with
topic.
Brexit.
it's gonna be great.
Okay, or not.
I
It's
mean-
fine.
Like, we had quite... Not this Christmas, because this Christmas was a COVID Christmas, but the Christmas before, it got quite heated around my cousin's house to the point where I almost got thrown out of Christmas because it was basically me calling everybody else idiots.
That
So,
usually works out well.
Yeah.
I like how they do that in the middle of Parliament. I like how they stand up and insult each other.
Oh, yeah.
in the middle of
it's-
Parliament. It's
When you watch it, you just go, what a bunch of children. But it's just how it's always been.
We've been doing this same thing for 2,000 years.
I can't believe they almost
Yeah,
threw you
but,
out. That's sad. They almost threw you out just because you think it's worth having, the UK being a separate country. We're crazy, right? Why? Yeah, everyone's in agreement
the way
that the
around.
UK should be part of the EU.
Let's
How is that-
not
how
get
is
into
that so unreasonable?
How about that? Let's leave British politics to the British politicians.
Sorry,
and
not to
let's
put
talk
words in your
about-
mouth.
Yeah.
Let's talk about quarterdigital.com.
Yeah, I know. That was just a bit. Sorry.
Let's not start off this podcast on like all the wrong feet.
Anyways,
Hey Scott, do you want to come on the podcast and get bombarded with political questions that have nothing to do with why?
All right, enough. We got exciting new things to talk about. We got this website. We also have like this collab with Linus Tech Tips that we've been doing.
yes.
And like
there's
those are
some
both super exciting.
I don't even know
Yeah.
where to start, but honestly, hold on. Put the website talk on pause. Vintage Mac OS. Ooh,
Oh yeah,
man.
that's what we're all about here right now.
Some men like cars. Some men like their trucks. Some men also like Mac OS 7. Like get one of those babies purring.
Yeah. So
This man likes early iOS.
so we had this idea.
I eat Mac O's for breakfast,
to
man.
use Photoshop 1.0 and to try using that to do things like to do visual effects or whatever in, because what would it be like? What is the first Photoshop like? Who knows, right? So we were kind of poking around trying to figure out how we could do this idea, and I reached out to Linus at Linus Tech Tips back in like August, And he's like, that's a cool idea. So anyways, life happened, time passed. And then he sent me an email like 2 or 3 months ago saying like, hey, so we did that. I'm like, did what? It's like, we got Photoshop 1.0 running on an OG Macintosh. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, yes. And when you're ready, we'll send it to you. And it's like, oh, really? So that's super cool. And we got the machine last week. And it's pretty crazy. So the Macintosh is from 1993. It's older than a lot of people here at Corridor.
Yeah, there are multiple people who were born after that computer was made.
Yeah. And they not only had Photoshop 1.0 installed on it, they also installed some games on it. Now, it's worth pointing out here that both myself and Sam basically got our start on computers like this one. Mm-hmm. I was on a Macintosh Performa as my first computer. I'm sure Sam was on something similar.
I don't remember the specific ones because it was Power's PC before I could like comprehend what the actual like computer models were, you know?
Yeah, but it's basically this machine that we got. And so immediately Sam and I were transported back to our youthful childlike wonder. And, you know, like, hey, computers, wow, these are really neat. Who know? I wonder if this will be important in my lifetime.
You know what? Actually, sorry, I know fatherhood it's a recurring subject on the podcast as we're all fathers. But I mean, okay, look, everyone's, you know, even myself, I'm concerned about like screen time for kids and all this stuff. But the moment I opened that box with you and we set that computer up, I was like, wait a second. Like some of my best childhood memories were like effing around on an old Mac and either making crazy art with it or playing these crazy games before there was like a formula to writing games, you know? And I don't know, it was like something kind of beautiful. And I instantly thought like, oh man, I got to get an old Mac. So my kid can have that same experience. I'm sure he's gonna hate it, but I don't know. There's something special there, and it really changes that whole perspective of all right, you know, screen time, life experiences. You know, like are you messing with your kid too much? You know, blah blah blah. But anyway, sorry, tangent.
Well, I think the big thing is like the moment you fire up that computer, you're like, oh, no microtransactions, no DLC, no constant updates, no patches. Everything is just shipped as is, and it's a one-click mouse for simple people like me and you.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times I right-clicked that mouse just on habit, trying to do stuff. I was like, I need to find the info, and I like right-click, and I'm just hitting the same button with my middle finger.
Yeah. It's an absolute joy to use that computer. It's just so simple and straightforward. It kind of reminds me of how much... Like, there's some good stuff going on in software these days, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of really crappy garbage. Like, there's so much of just like...
Like what?
Well, you know, a good example is like, you know, take Steam, for example, right? Imagine you want to sit down and play your video games. Well, Steam has to update. Steam has to update almost every time you open it. So it should be a quick, you know, 30 seconds to 20 seconds for the program to open becomes 1 to 2 minutes. Pretty much every time you want to use it. And then games have to update every time. And then little by little, they bloat themselves up from 10 gigs to 20 gigs to 30 gigs to 40 gigs.
Yeah.
So never do you have just a thing that is. You always have something that's amorphous and shifting. And you can't just rely on a game to be that game. It's going to constantly change. It's going to constantly update. And it's kind of a pain in the ass. You can't just come back to something. It's not like a book where you can like open it up and the words are still on the same pages where they were earlier. It's like, imagine you put a bookmark in a book and you come back to it a few months later and like now your page is like 50 pages back and it's like, wait, what?
That's what happens because I have toddlers.
Yeah.
No, I hear that. I updating Steam I've had some of the most frustrating software experiences, like just trying to, because also they have all the password protection tiers. Mm-hmm. And so it's like if you're signing in on a new device, then it's, you know, there's 3 layers of removal, and then it's like, oh, was it that account or was it the other account that I had? And then each time it has to update. It's a real, unless you're using it every day. And, you know, Adobe does the same thing, and all the software programs we use now do the same thing. Like if you step away from them for a minute, you have to spend an hour rebooting everything once you come back to it.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna say the only
go
thing
on.
that's like that's similar to like this old Macintosh in terms of experience is honestly like video uploads. Once you upload a video onto YouTube, that's it. It lives there forever. You don't really get to change it. Like,
Yeah.
so you make sure it's good and you watch it for bugs and errors and glitches before it goes live. People don't do that really that often with software these days.
Just go print and patch.
Sorry, Scott, we're talking about you and your ilk.
You developer types. We
I
know your
know.
types.
But as we say, it's a feature, not a bug.
So
It's like, I mean, one of the first things that was taught to me is that it was like, if you ever say that your piece of software is bug free, you just haven't found it yet. There is no such thing as a bug free piece of software. Like, sure, if it's a really, really small program, then fine. But with every new feature and every layer, and it just, it does become in some cases needle in a haystack, and other times you'll go, I should have just seen that. Like, it was so obvious, and I tested everything except for that one thing.
Hey,
Yeah.
so Scott, I don't think it's ever been talked about on the last few times you've been on the cast, but like, how did you get into everything that you do? Because when I got in touch with you, you had already been in the game for like 10 years of doing programming and compression and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, like the roots of it all was sort of like picked up gaming and computers. A lot of that sort of the inspiration came from my granddad, who, in his 80s was like using Photoshop and was editing, with a digital camera, all of the stuff that he did for like weddings for friends and family. So I was always interested in computers, and then was gonna go to either university as an engineer or basically take my pilot's license and make that commercial license. So then I would do like North Sea oil rig flying or something like that. And then somehow kind of just landed on computer science. Originally wanted to do games development, but was kind of like, I won't limit myself by just saying games only. I was like, I'll do the core and then see where that takes me.
Yeah.
And then got a job straight out of uni. Sort of had 2 job offers. One was near my parents, one wasn't. So I went with the one that wasn't. Not that I don't love my parents, but when you're 21, you don't really want to live at home.
Yeah, you want that separation. Yeah.
Yeah, and then through that company, I did some work with Technicolor's platform called MGO, where I built their desktop app, and then I started in the world of Sony. So I then spent the next 8, 9, 10 years working for Sony Pictures, building their direct-to-consumer platforms, and that's pretty much where I learned everything from. Back-end systems, front-end websites, apps.
So can we officially say that we stole you from Sony?
Yes, you can officially say that, sure.
Where'd you find Scott? We stole him from Sony Pictures.
Yeah, in Culver City, so
Sunny.
be careful.
Sunny.
Sunny Pictures. Sunny Boy Pictures.
Sunny boy.
That's why they're called Sony, right? Because they wanted like a cool Western sounding like Sunny Boy, and they're like, that's cool
not.
Western sounding. Yeah, it is.
It's 100% true.
That's 100% true.
It's shockingly true.
They wanted a cool.
They
Yeah,
didn't
this is like
start
after World War
making-
II. They want like a good old American boy name, and so they're like Sunny, and like they spelled it with one N, and so it's Sony. I am not kidding you. That is actually
You're not
why they are
kidding?
called Sony. Yes.
Is that like the Evix story?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like his parent, I don't know if his parents wanted to name him Eric or not, but
Yeah. We're not at liberty
Eric,
to divulge that story technically, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Wait, is that true?
About Sony?
the Sunny Boy one is 100% true.
Yes.
Or
I can't tell if you're trolling me or
depends
not.
on if you
No,
believe
go to
Wikipedia or
Wikipedia.
not.
Check it out.
The
It's old news.
interwebs says that it came from Sonos, which is Latin for sound.
Maybe.
Despite the fact that their first consumer product was an electric rice cooker.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, if they started off in electronic and consumer products, not in motion pictures. So I don't know.
No, go to Wikipedia. We're getting a deep
I'm
dive.
pulling it up. I'm pulling it up. We're gonna get to the bottom of this right now. I'm pulling it up.
Sony was combined by the two words of Sonus and Sunny.
Oh yeah, a common slang
this is
term in the
officially from
1950s
Sony, by
in
the way.
America to call a young boy.
Sunny.
No, this is the
Sunny
official
boy.
Sony.com. Okay, the company name of Sony was created by combining two words of Sonus and Sunny. The word Sonus in Latin, yeah, sound, etc. The other word Sunny means little sun. Used in combination, Sony is supposed to represent a very small group of young people who have the energy and passion towards unlimited creations and innovative ideas.
No, but that's the Sonus thing was just something they
Yeah, I
pulled
think
out of that.
they
They pulled that one out of their ass.
Yeah, they were like, we gotta turn this around,
We
guys.
can't just say it's Sunny
What
Boy.
were they thinking?
Yeah.
Can we start calling people in the studio Sony?
Yeah.
Sony
Like
Boy.
Peter's our Sony boy.
No, just call him Sunny Boy. Just stick with the original.
Hey, no, it's so much funnier to say Sony boy.
Is
Yeah.
it Sunny Beta Dean now or instead of Child Beta Dean? Can we
Sunny-
mix that up?
Sunny Beta Dean.
Sunny Beta Dean.
Sony Beater Dean.
Yeah, anytime people pick the little boys like Ness or Villager, it'll just be different Sunnies. Sunny Ness and Sunny Villager.
His sunniness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wow. So that's why you got your experience, because like when you first hit us up 2 years ago at this point, you basically said, "Hey, I can build this." And I said, "Yeah." And I told Sam and Niko, I was like, "Yeah, this guy emailed me and says that he can build us a website." Yeah. And then like a week later, you had a bunch of stuff in place that was kind of like proof of concept.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. That changed my opinion pretty quickly.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those I genuinely didn't expect to get a response. And you replied like maybe a day or two later, and I was just like, holy crap, what do I do now? No.
I think
some
that's how
intense
most people
follow-through.
end up. Most people end up in Corridor with that same experience. Like we're about to put out a hiring video on the same day that this podcast comes out, and we're gonna get. I mean, that's how we've been hiring, and we've found so many great people that way. Like we just reach out to the audience and we say, "Hey guys, we need somebody that's really good at this. Anybody know anybody or anybody watching this video?" And yeah, and that's how we found Dean. That's how we found Matt. That's how we found Peter. It's like, it's endless.
Yeah.
Basically everyone except
Ren, Nick.
no Ren.
Technically, you found us through our videos.
Ren showed up.
Yeah, Ren
I
just
remember this
showed
day he
up.
showed up and we were unsure of like who he was, but because he was just like, I'm a fan, and he like drove down to check out the building, and we had no idea what was going on. We're like, who is this guy? Like, what's going on? And then he just manages to like be in Freddie and Brandon's video
Yeah.
that they're
Yeah.
about to shoot. Oh,
He almost had a broken fluorescent light tube dropped on his head. The
Yeah.
shot went perfectly and it fell around his head.
Really? What video?
Oh yeah. I saw that video.
The Splinter Cell one, where Freddy's shooting out light
Yeah.
bulbs with an airsoft gun. Actually shooting out
Oh, yeah.
fluorescent light bulbs in our hallway with an airsoft gun. Yeah.
Sure, Steve wasn't pissed about that at all.
Well,
No.
they replaced them. But there was broken glass and mercury everywhere.
So, Scott, I'd like to take an opportunity to just like expand a little bit on everything we just did to the site, because I know that you and I appreciate it. You perhaps more than anybody.
Wait,
Because of-
Jake, I just gotta cut you off. This approach us with way more hype. You gotta be
Okay,
way more
okay,
hyped about
hold on,
this.
Hold on.
Turn off the lawyer speak.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
We've spent the last 8 months renovating CorridorDigital.com for
There it
you
is.
today. Not only are we releasing functional filmmaking, one of the greatest educational digital media creative videos and series of all time, we
Yes.
also have 4 new features on our Greenlight page. What is the Greenlight page? Well, through your website subscription dollars, you can put your dollars at work to see what projects we create through the Greenlight feature. We've got 4 new projects, and also, last but not least, we have Peter's Smush Brethren game.
Oh,
We got Peter's Smush Brethren game. That's right.
That's right.
You can
And
play
we did
it.
an entire makeover of the website.
And also, what's on the Greenlight page?
Ground up.
We got new things on the Greenlight page. That's right. Yeah,
Corridor
we're
Live.
still working on the first things, and they're coming great. They're coming along great.
Well, you'll be able to see the first episode of Functional Filmmaking right now.
Yeah, and we're knee deep in editing Son of a Dungeon, and we're basically on the verge now of finally being ready to do Local Zero, which is crazy. It's taking a lot of work, but that's because no one else is doing stuff like that. That's why it's hard. Anyways,
Yeah, when I just watched the editing video or the hiring video,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I'm honestly questioning how many people exist in the universe that are going to know how to do that job.
I know 2 people, and one already said no, he can't help us because he's
That's like where I'm at.
But what do we got for the new ones? We got the Corridor Digital forums.
Cool. We got the Corridor
Ooh.
forums, so that's
I
don't
you know
know
what? You know what? It might not sound like something you accompany like trumpets with, where you're like forums, and you're like, but it's pretty sweet actually, because forums offer a completely different social media experience, something that's not determined by algorithms, and it's not based on this like kind of temporary, flash in the pan style, like, ordering of like how you consume information.
burning trash fires.
But it's
of
nice to
somewhat
it's nice
relevant
to-
information.
It's nice to consolidate it because it becomes a repository of knowledge rather than like this, doom scrolling kind of freaking. I got nothing
doom
better
scrolling.
to. Yeah,
Just out there. Hey man, what'd you do last night? I was just out there doom
I
scrolling.
doom scrolled for 3 hours and then fell asleep.
Dude, that's it. I mean, all those algorithms are made to like keep you on the site as long as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, but it's cool. I don't know what else we can do with the cool art that Griffin and Ren made for it, because I feel like it's got some legs.
T-shirt. That's got T-shirt written all over it.
I know, it does. We should have just.
We should create a like Scott has on the mocap hoodie or the mocap crew neck. We should create a pattern with Ren just riding the one wheel through cyberspace.
Great. Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we just do the 90s internet kid shirt, but it's Ren on a one
I'm gonna
wheel.
write that down real quick so I don't
See, this is
forget.
how we need to be doing merch, guys.
What
It's
about
not
when the pour
not-
stretch?
What?
What about when the pour
And then
stretch?
that's the pour stretch. Sure, that's in there. Sure. And Lehman's Tiny Hut. It's the Bass Pro
Yes,
Shops.
Lehman's Tiny Hut is definitely
And there's got to be an American flag on the frickin' sleeve, or
the backwards flag, the assaulting flag.
Yeah, because it's got to be like one of those, like, you get this one in the middle of Wyoming at a freaking Cabela's.
It's a grunt style.
Yeah. There's a fish somewhere on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so forums. That's great
Yeah,
stuff.
so we got forums. We got Corridor Live.
Corridor
These
Live.
podcasts, once Corridor Live gets greenlit, if it gets greenlit, all these podcasts are going to be live. So
Yeah, that's
prepare
another
for
cool
that.
one. Peter's New Bones.
Peter's New
Let's
Bones.
not forget.
Yeah,
Peter
that's
That's the bonus number 5.
That's not going to be live on Wednesday, but we have a Greenlight feature called Peter's New Bones. It's 206 points only, and you can only put in 1 point, and for each point, there's 206 people at the end. They each get one of Peter's New Bones.
Yeah, they each contributed. And now people might be asking, well, I thought it was only $100 to get them New Bones.
Yeah, I thought it was only $100 to get new bones.
But the thing is, we
well,
did
the
our math
price
wrong.
costs-
We did our math wrong
Guys,
when we wrote that. You need
cost of living's going
$206 to get new bones, because that's how many bones you
per
have.
bone.
$1 per bone.
we had to double the price, and then we got charged $6 of interest.
Yes.
Packaging, postage and packaging.
Long awaited.
Yeah.
What else we
awaited.
got? What else we got in the Greenlight page?
Well, we have
Dubstep Guns 10.
10.
2. Dubstep Guns 2.
No, I'm calling it 10 because it makes more sense in my head.
Dubstep Guns X.
Ooh, Dubstep Guns X. There it is.
The
So-
artwork for Dubstep Guns 2 is sick. It is. I still can't stop looking at it. It looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Griffin
Yeah.
nailed it.
We'll just have Griffin
Yeah, he
direct
really
Dubstep
did.
Guns 2.
We'll just have him direct. Yeah.
So what is this, Niko? Can you summarize maybe a little bit of what you want to shoot there? Is there a plot?
Well, assuming it gets greenlit, if good listeners here decide to help us out and greenlight it, the premise is generally that the drop squad is all washed up. Like I don't know. I spend most of my time on the floor of my motel room. Sam just has a nice job at an insurance company, and Mike has been nowhere to be seen for the past 8 years.
Mike moved to a tropical island and he has 9 children.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you just have to look at, Dubstep Guns was based off of the world around us when it was made, where a beautiful place where dubstep was popular. People think it's fiction, but there's a lot of reality in that story. And so, you look at 10 years later, Dubstep Guns X, it's based in 2021, a world where dubstep is frowned upon, shunned. People who listen to it or play it are cast out from society.
Yep.
So
Almost certainly.
I tried to start a dubstep club and I went bankrupt because I refused to play any other types of EDM.
Dubstep only club.
Yeah, it's a glimpse into a few characters who have refused to let go of dubstep.
Yeah. But the world needs us because there is a rivalry, which is the rivalry of metal music and dubstep, and who has the coolest breakdown.
Oh, I thought the greatest enemy was going to be SoundCloud rappers.
Oh, it's a whole mix of things, actually.
SoundCloud rappers, yeah, you're right.
But Mike will be coming back in to help us make it. We'll be brainstorming and writing together. I don't think we're going to pull all-nighters this time, trying to crank out VFX, but it'll still be sweet. And I do want to have a sword section where the sword choreography is in tune with the music, just like the lasers were.
Sweet.
So, the setup would be cool.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, this one's a little bit unique because that one's not exclusive to the website. That one's going to be going on YouTube. So, all the website patrons will be helping us, helping everyone in the world by greenlighting this one, because this one's going out to everybody. This is not a keep it for ourselves kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something, like eventually, if we do Son of a Dungeon Season 2, like when we drop that, we'll probably release Son of a Dungeon Season 1 on YouTube. And obviously we put out the first episode of Functional Filmmaking as a teaser for people to see, so they know they get a feel for what the series is. So, I think some of that stuff's good to do to like draw in a larger audience who might not, see it or recognize that it's there.
Yeah.
And then obviously we have Crew Cut Season 2 because that's a thing. Daniel's made over 50 episodes of Crew Cuts. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, and they're really good. He's really good at it.
I don't want to have him hear this and have him get real big for his britches. Not that he's that type of person.
I was about to say.
He's the most like nicest, most humble man. But he is an incredible filmmaker. He's been able to find some of these like stories and through lines just through like watching people and asking questions and filming it.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll ever do a DVD box set of the vlogs?
No, but we should probably release like a highlight series of the best episodes from season 1 on Corridor Crew at some point. Like, just because again, I think there's a huge section of that audience that would really appreciate it.
I think that's a really, really, really good idea, because a lot of the thing is that even though like vlogs can sometimes be tied to the time they're released, a lot of the time when he releases these vlogs, sometimes they're about projects, but they have like a kind of an encompassing vibe to them, where it doesn't feel like if you watch it like a month or two or even a year late, it's irrelevant. Yeah.
I mean, even the release schedule to the website, he's played with the timeline where it's like you've moved into the office and then you haven't, and then you have again.
Yeah, you're right.
And then you haven't, and then you've been in there for like 2 months, and then suddenly it's moving day again, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
But it works. He really makes it work.
Yeah, because it's not about necessarily the timeline; it's about the characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those are the 4 things that are happening on Greenlight, and then Peter's New Bones is probably next week. So keep on the lookout for that, because it's gonna go fast, guys. There's only 206 points. You can only contribute 1, so we're just gonna throw it up there someday next week and not say anything.
Now, people who have greenlit shows in the past, they get a cool little icon next to their name when they're doing, like, for example, when they're in the live stream and things like that. Is there a cool little bone icon for the 206 people?
That's we're gonna do all 206 bones, and each person is gonna get an individual bone icon.
I know. Geez, at this rate, we're gonna need a Flare wallet where people can like choose what Flare they actually want to have next to their name, or else if people says like they'll say one word and then the username and the icons will take up the entire chat.
Like, yeah, we were gonna limit it to 3, I think. So people have to pick their favorite 3 things.
It's pretty cool though. I like the idea of like you have this badge of honor. It's like I've been here. I helped greenlight this show. Like I was a producer on this show. You know, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And on the lines of forum, we're gonna start building out the account feature like a lot more robustly. So
we're talking like phone number, home address, social security number,
social security,
pet peeves,
like mother's maiden name. All that's gonna be on there. It's gonna be great, publicly viewable. Then we're gonna take it all and sell it to a big corporation. It's gonna be wild. But we're gonna allow people to host some of their own content on there, so that when they interact in forums, like you can put up stuff and then exchange that knowledge back and forth. And I also think that'll be a really cool way to like get some more videos from people that are members of the site, and then maybe like once a month we can do like a feature thing for cool videos that people have uploaded.
Heck yeah. Dude, I'm excited for like how the site's going to evolve this year, because it's such a great opportunity for us outside of the YouTube ecosystem to let us still kind of live the life that we've learned to live with the YouTube ecosystem, but where like we can be so much less concerned about algorithm and much more concerned with just making good content. And that's a really nice thing that the website brings to the table.
Yeah. You know what? Also, though, it's funny. I've kind of been, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh man, we got to get these season 1 Greenlight shows out. It's like it's taken months. It's been like last September, and I'm starting to realize like part of it, like when we first started this whole thing, we were thinking a little bit of like still that mini Netflix model of like, all right, we have these exclusive shows are on here, but since all the shows are a little bit bigger, we're accomplishing building them out all by ourselves. It's not like, yes, there's been new hires here and we're growing at the pace we need to grow at to make everything, but it's funny seeing our situation versus like still other streaming services and the amount of content that's being put out. And it's like, wow, it's like, well, these are going to be the shows we're putting out are big shows. Season 1 shows are sorry, phase 1, I guess we're calling it. Phase 1 shows, they're all big shows. Even this D&D show we just started, post on it today and trying to figure out
such a massive undertaking.
Yeah, it's like, holy cow.
We completely underestimated how big of a show it was.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us could have known otherwise. Like,
yeah, and I mean, even for a D&D show, it's like, wow, like this is a lot of stuff. I mean, like we're getting it figured out here, and it's not gonna like bankrupt us by any means, but it's still like one of these like, holy crap, this is like, it's like, yeah, we're talking about 8 hours of content and putting as much effort into it as we do with everything else. So
it's definitely the way to approach things. I mean, this is our whole like business ethos that we've had at Corridor since we started, which is, you look at like Quibi or any of the other like streaming platforms, the way they do it is like they get a whole bunch of venture capital money and they go out and they shotgun as much content at you as you can. And it's just a total like, I hope this lands, because if it doesn't, we all go bankrupt. Yeah, and it's like that's not a good life to live. Like that's such a like corporate I'm going to use my golden parachute and get out of this if it doesn't work kind of mentality.
It's the whole like pretending you're bigger than you are for the sake of like tricking people.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, if you actually enjoy what you're doing and you actually love your job, the whole idea is not to just shotgun as much content at people as you can.
Yeah.
The idea is to enable
Float
you to
away
be
on
an
your
artist.
retirement package.
Yeah, our whole approach is to like, we want to connect with the people that want to like, that enjoy the stuff that we make. And we want to continue making the stuff that we enjoy making as well. And like, ideally those two things go together. I enjoy making things with, cool gunfights and explosions. And there's people out there who enjoy cool gunfights and explosions. And ideally we meet each other on the internet. And like the whole business model has just been the process of building that up in a sustainable way. Like, back when we started on YouTube, like the whole thought was like, we could go make a movie. Psh, easy. Look at all these things that they do wrong in movies. Their muzzle flashes are always bad. And it's like, then once you get into making a movie, you're like, oh, this is really complicated and really hard. And it's really not about you. It's a whole team of people and everybody has to bring their A game.
Yeah. Once you get in the post on a big project like that, you're like, I know exactly why the muzzle flashes look bad in most movies because I'm struggling to make ours look good.
It's just like, I have so many other things to worry about than the muzzle flashes, and like it gets passed off to like some random person and they're just like, here you go. And it's like, these kind of look mediocre. It's like, out of time. And you're like, okay, I guess we'll live with them. But
yeah,
it's like, so there's a whole learning process and a whole team that needs to be built, around that kind of stuff. Really, at the end of the day, good movies happen because there's good teams behind them, and you don't just manifest a good team instantly from nothing. You spend your time building it. If you look at Corridor right now, we've been building a good team by every year bringing on 2 to 3 new people, and little by little, and then it's not an instant, all right, turn around and make stuff. It's let's get to know each other. Let's get to understand the content you're making. Let's listen to the audience's feedback and use that to round yourself out as a filmmaker, because nobody just comes out of the gate perfect. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You need to.
Right. And the endeavor isn't to like, hey, you need to come on so we can do this thing, so we can do that, and then that. It's like, no, the idea is to try to come up with a situation where we can make like a life's work of artistic content, and contribute that to like the medium that is audiovisual art.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not something you want to just do in like a year or a month, or, it takes time, and that's part of it. That's part of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's why we've got Crew Cuts Season 2 and Dubstep Guns is the only sort of real project-based stuff, or even Dubstep Guns 2 is the only like dedicated filming piece, because Crew Cuts is an ongoing daily thing for Daniel. So I guess that's why we've got more enhancements like the forums and the Corridor Live versus like dedicated shows. Is the fact that you guys had Tactical Reloads, Son of a Dungeon, Functional Filmmaking, Crew Cuts Season 1, and Local Zero. That was an ambitious start to Greenlight. I mean, it's like you said in the very before we'd even gone live, it was like, if all of these get greenlit, we are screwed.
Yep. And they all did, except for Tactical. Yeah. And those are going to be rolling out like over the course of the year here. And then obviously, like, in a few more months, we'll probably follow up and we'll do a phase 3 of Greenlight, and that'll have some more narrative stuff in it. And that'll be like kind of for 2022,
Mm-hmm. We want to make sure we deliver on what we promised people we'd deliver on. Like, we never did a Kickstarter in our entire career here at Corridor. We've never done an Indiegogo. And like, part of that is just because it's so easy just to not deliver on it, And that's not a situation that I want to be in. I want to deliver on the things that we say we're going to deliver on, but it's also, I want to do cool stuff at the same time, and bring those two together takes time. Like, Sam's obviously, kind of the leading creative force behind Local Zero, but like behind that is a whole realm of, animation, motion capture, real-time rendering, virtual filmmaking, like all these really cool things that like I'm totally into, and like Sam's totally into, and like we want to learn and experiment and like make sure we can make cool stuff with that. And it's not just like a quick like run it out the door and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, when we put it up on the Greenlight page, if I would have made it after it was greenlit, it would be out by now. but it'd be really shitty. Like you can literally track the quality of how good it is going to be by every corridor crew video that has anything to do with Unreal Engine. And yeah.
But we do have like a semi script for the thing already, which I really like where it's going. It's got some really cool scenes, and it's, I think the other aspect that's important to keep in mind is like, we're not hunting for the most popular shows. We're hunting for doing stuff that's unique to our voice that can't be enabled anywhere else. Like, YouTube, you have to make stuff for a bigger audience. And that's not to say, you can't make cool things that appeal to a bigger audience, but like, you're still kind of playing the algorithm game. But like,
yeah, if you want to have success on YouTube, you have to play the algorithm game. That's how it works.
Yeah. And then if you're going to make something for like Netflix, you're still playing the algorithm game. It's a different algorithm, but like, you're still very much like the executive producer saying like, all right, I need some romance here, and I need you to do cliffhangers here. And the subject matter needs like, we need something that's really broad and mass audience so I can market it into this, portfolio here. And it's like, you're still missing out on like the niche art, like the cool things. Like I don't like, let me put it this way. How many Mad Max Fury Roads do we get every year? Like 0, right? We get 0 Mad Max Fury Roads every year. Yeah. And like, that's one of the coolest films I've seen in the past, like 2 decades. But they don't come out that often because honestly, that kind of movie doesn't fit into a business portfolio. It's just you make it and you hope it turns out good and you hope people like it. But that's not really what people do when they have millions of dollars at stake. If they have millions of dollars at stake, they're going to go with the tried and true method where it's a known commodity. But we get to do something like Local Zero, which has a pretty unique plot and a really unique idea that is cool. And I think a lot of people are really going to like it because it speaks to a lot of people's modern experiences with both gaming and like virtual lifestyles and living online, so to speak, and that culture that's around that. But you won't ever get Netflix touching something like that. And if they do, it might be cool for a couple episodes, and then it's just gonna become the same generic, like, gotta hit the numbers, gotta play, gotta fall into the sitcom, aspect of the whole thing. But yeah, and I'm also not saying there's no good shows on Netflix. There's obviously a lot of great shows on Netflix, but it's just what everybody has been enabling us to do with the website is they're letting us forge this new type of entertainment. And it's, we're starting, it's a little slow and we're starting small because we're a tinier company by everybody else's standards. But I don't know, it's just really exciting. And the fact that we're hitting this second iteration of the website, it's going to be exciting, A, to see how people respond to functional filmmaking, B, to continue growing the website and trying to gather enough of a subscriber base to let us really pursue these narrative pieces with some budget. And, I guess C will just be like what happens this fall or next winter when we've kind of moved through this phase and entering phase 3. We'll have some experience under our belts. It's like, then what happens? Like, that'll be really cool.
Yeah, it also, like, as we're seeing with like the forums feature, like, why are we doing that? We're doing that because it gives you a tool that there wasn't really an outlet for it that we had sort of direct access to in a way that, like, I guess calls upon, it's like Sam said, the knowledge base that will be built up there, and the ability to take that and then bring it to be. We didn't have like a place for that before. We're like, hey, that's a good idea. Somebody should do that, but we didn't. Now we have a place to do it. Yeah. So it's beyond just even like the narratives and the other, like, it's like, I see it as there's so many different now avenues that we can take with it, that we still maintain that nimbleness that we've always had to have with YouTube. Mm-hmm. But, now it's just, I guess there's a lot there. You can take it into the 21st century. Honestly, it's like, that's what I'm feeling with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
anyway,
one of the things that I think I love the most is that, like, Greenlight didn't exist for the first maybe like 6+ months that we were building the website. Like, originally it was just, let's build a website, let's bring in more revenue that can fund projects. And then I think it was either Niko or Sam came along and said, actually, we kind of want something that's a little bit more. And then I can't even remember how Greenlight came into conception, but it did. And then as soon as it did, it just made so much sense. And, whilst the offering isn't ridiculous, we don't have 10, 20, 30 shows for people to pick. It's, something that is evolving, and, with each iteration of Greenlight is going to grow and change as we figure out what did work and what didn't work.
It's
something
pretty
like
dope, man. Like in a couple more years, there's going to be a huge library on there, and it's going to be really, I think, really cool to see it, to look back on it.
I'm just waiting for somebody else to copy our Greenlight feature.
I know. I called my buddy who's a patent lawyer about that, and it's I don't know. I don't know if it's patentable, but
dude, just give it like once our site gets a little more notoriety, like just give it a minute, and then like Netflix is gonna come along and be like, vote for which show we make next, and then it's like, oh, there it is.
With Netflix, we've got $3 billion. Where do you think we should put it? It's like, damn, they did it way better than we did.
I mean, hey, props to those guys though. They started by sending out DVDs in the mail.
And then the first ones would be like, what if we streamed these couple crappy movies that we didn't have to worry about rights, distribution rights for? And then everybody's like, we love it. And it's like, oh.
I remember it must have been about 2004. My buddy Joe his mom had a Netflix subscription, and it was, $2.99 or whatever a month, and they'd send you 2 or 3 DVDs, and then you had to send them back. Mm-hmm. And then your subscription continued. Can you imagine trying to manage that logistically? Like,
yeah, screw that.
It's such a different model than it is now. I mean, I guess Amazon started as a book company, right? So
yeah.
Think about
that. Speaking of Netflix,
but at least you didn't have to return the books.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Is anybody watching the new F1 season on Netflix? No. Man, it's like the best show. Nobody watches it.
What, F1? Like racing?
Yeah, F1 racing. All right.
Really?
So imagine you're an average person, an average American who doesn't give a crap about F1 racing.
Okay. Perfect. I think you got a great audience.
All right. So that's describing probably everybody here. So now imagine I came along. I said, what if, since you don't give a crap about F1 racing, what if I just took every single race, filmed it with a bunch of phantom cameras and helicopters and drones and made it look real pretty. I had GoPros in the cockpit. I had voice recordings for everybody. And what if I edited every race down to only the important parts? So the crashes, like the malfunctions, like the team drama. And then what if I also gave you a little bit of context before each race as to why it's important and what's at stake with each character, both in terms of their careers and their rivalries. And then you got to watch it all play out on the track in real time. And what if I took those multiple hours of sports BS and made it 30 minutes long?
Sports BS.
You would probably like, that sounds like a lot of fun. Like what if I brought you, like, what if I said like, hey.
I know, I'm sold. I'm sold. I love watching racing, but it's like, I can't watch much of it. Like a lot of like the rallycross
3 hours
stuff.
on a Sunday.
Yes. No, thank you. Like here's just 30 minutes by some really good editors with some great phantom angles of cars just shattering into a million pieces at like 5,000 frames per second. And you're like,
that sounds amazing.
I mean, I do know some people that have watched the Netflix series and now watch F1 and are really into it because of the Netflix series, where they're like, I didn't realize F1 was that interesting. It was like cricket.
Yeah. Well, it's like, when you like turn on the TV, just like to the layman, like it's hard to kind of see what's going on in a race. And it doesn't seem all that crazy. It seems like everybody just drives the optimized route and that's it. But once you start watching the series, you start realizing, like, I mean, engineering is such a huge part of F1 racing. I'd say even more so than like IndyCar racing or whatever, the Daytona and stuff is, NASCAR racing. Like, I mean, obviously engineering is a big part of that too, but in F1 racing, it's like, it's a huge part of it. It's way more like, here's your constraints, go crazy and do whatever you want within those constraints. And so all these people are coming out with crazy different, like, things on their cars and like technological advancements. And, they're protesting to like the FIA or whatever to like, be like, they can't do that with their car. Like, For example, in the first episode, Mercedes has a thing where if you pull your steering wheel in and out, it turns the front tires in and out, like it pizza wedges them, like when you're skiing. And so they could do that to get like extra traction when they're going around a circle, like a corner, and they, once they're on a straightaway, they pull the thing out, bloop, and the tires go straight and they can go faster. And all the other teams are like, what? You can't do that. And they're like, oh, we can totally do it. And so it's like little things like that. And you get like the dynamics of it all. And like drivers are constantly being poached from team to team, and like contracts are being negotiated. So you get like drivers who like they're leaving the team at the end of the year. So they're just like, screw you, I'm going to do whatever I want. And then you get like rivalries on the track where people within the same team are like crashing into each other.
I feel like this is like Speed Racer you're describing a little bit.
It is Speed Racer.
Where they're like,
see, Sam, you can't make fun of all sports all the time.
I know, that's so funny. Yeah, they're like, you can't do that. You can't do an oil slick that comes out the back of your car. It's like, oh yeah.
Just throws that banana.
For example, so
a flame torch.
So Mercedes is the best team, and they have like a number one driver, and they have their second driver who hates that he's like being called the number two driver, right? He's like, I'm just as good as this other dude, but they always put him in first place, and I'm stuck competing. And like, so they're doing a race, and you have to qualify before you do a race where you just do time trials, and that your timing dictates where you are in the grid. And so, of course, the number one driver gets, the best time. And this guy is getting the number two time. But he's like, you know what? When you're starting a race on this track, because it's a big straightaway, you want to be in third place because you want the car in front of you punching a hole in the air. And that gives you the boost around the first corner. And then you can take the lead. And so as he's doing his qualifying time, and they're like, all right, you got the second best time. He's like, cool. And they're like, cool. Feel free to, step off the gas. He's like, cool, whatever. And then he continues like driving fast on the straightaway while the Red Bull car behind him is starting their lap time. So he ends up giving him a full like draft boost for that part. They're like, why are you doing that? And he's like, no reason. And the whole reason is because he wanted to give that guy a little bump in time so that guy would get the second best time, and then he'd have the third best time. But he like didn't listen to his coaches. He didn't listen to anybody. He's like, I'm just going to do this because I'm tired of being the number two driver. I'm going to take first place in this one. It's like, you don't get that from just watching it on TV, but they give you that in this show. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Also, anybody see Kong vs. Godzilla?
I've watched most of it. I got 2/3 of the way through, and then I just watched the sweet fight at the end.
Dude, how about that boat fight?
It was great.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I watched it with Gideon, and he was like, "Dragons, oh yeah!" And like, I was like, "Thank God you're not scared of this." Now I can watch these movies in the morning, 6 a.m. It's like, boom, Godzilla, we're doing it. But no, it's great. So, there's some great spoilers that we could talk about. It's not even a spoiler. It's like wrestling. It's like you're saying
Godzilla versus Kong is straight up.
That's like if I'm gonna tell you, dude, the Undertaker shows up and starts fighting, and you're like, dude, come on, spoiler
alert.
It's
all
like,
right, if you haven't seen the movie yet and you give a crap about spoilers,
it's freaking Mecha Godzilla in there. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, Robo dinosaurs and shit.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is great. Like the movie's dumb though. The movie's dumb as hell. But
it's so dumb. But it's like they know
Kong
it.
versus Godzilla.
I watched a review that they were like, this movie is like, it's like this movie feels like it was written by a 6-year-old, and that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yep. And I will say the CG in that movie is so well done, and they do some really cool stuff with it.
Although my only part though is that like there's a conspiracy theory subplot, and I'm like, dude, this is like this is like almost funnier after the QAnon stuff, where I'm like, it's like this girl read someone's Twitter and has like decided to break into government agencies based off of what she read on the internet. Like that's a huge plot line. She's a hero, and it's like it's funnier, and I feel like they could have maybe leaned into that a bit, but. Wow. Yeah.
It's amazing. All right, real quick before we end here, Scott, what was the best thing about getting the site to this point, and what was the hardest thing about getting it to this point?
Well, the best thing generally is the reactions in the comment section whenever something changes. Like, there's a couple of people in particular that always comment, and it's like it's that thing where it's like I kind of secretly know them because they always say really nice things.
You're like the bartender. You're like, hey,
yeah, it's
the usual, huh?
Yeah, but it's like no, it's super like, you know, sometimes software developers don't get much recognition for the work that they do, so having kind of that really close connection with like people complain about stuff. And then, in fact, most of the time when people open up support tickets, they're like, "Hey, Scott, I've got this problem." So people know that I'm answering those tickets before I've even replied. The worst part, this is going to sound stupid, but video is just like, it's so easy. There's so many different options and variables and configurations for video. Doesn't matter how long you've done it for. It's an industry and a technology that is always changing. So, we haven't had too many issues, but it's a lot more pain than some people may appreciate when they click a video and it plays and it's like, well, that took a lot to get there in the first place. Anything from a dying server to just format issues. So, but
to your mom picking up the phone in the middle of your download.
Dude, that's a Macros joke.
That's an old Macos joke. Macos for breakfast. All right.
Hi guys. Well,
is it time for our musical outro?
I think so.
All right. Here, I got a little song I've been working on. A little cover. Yeah, that's right. A handpan cover from another handpan song. Here we go.
Really? All right. Let's hear it.
Sorry, we're not getting any banjo or guitar for this outro.
Is this a Niko original?
It is not, actually. I did not write this song.
I might solo over the top of it. Just
cool.
All
right, this was written by Kate Stone. That's it. That's all I got.
Ooh.
It's actually kind of hard playing with a microphone here because it gets in the way of my
songs
hands.
on that thing now?
Yeah, man.
You're learning songs?
Sweet.
All right, next time on the Corridor Cast, we do an entire hour of just improvised handpan and
people are into
subtle
that. People
Dubstep
are really into that.
handpan?
dubstep handpan.
All right.
And the reading of Chinese proverbs.
Until next time.
All right.
All right. Peace, guys.
Bye.
Check out corridordigital.com.
Yeah, if you didn't get that already from the hour. Thanks, Scott.
Corridordigital.com.
All right, cheers, guys. Bye.
See ya.